you want, wow, look at that. That's a new thing. Great. So welcome to the partnership for international birding video conference on birding in northern Peru. Today on the phone with me is Jose Antonio Padilla. Before I do a full introduction there, I just want to lay down some ground rules for the call. First, questions are always welcome. If it's in the middle of the presentation, please text them in. We used to allow open microphones, but now we just have too many people on the calls to do open mics. However, there are 6 times in the middle of the video conference, which we do open the microphone for questions. So you can either save your questions for these breaks, or you can text them to me, the trip host, anytime. I am Charles Thornton Colby, the executive partner of the Partnership for International Birding. So all questions are welcome and encouraged. Basically, the quick agenda today is Jose Antonio is going to talk about his 6 favorite birding sites in northern Peru, including Chapari and Pomac, Jaén and Gotas de Agua Reserve, and then a bunch of sites around Abra Patricia, including the famous Owlet Lodge, the Wembo Gardens, good Lord, which is where the marvelous spatula tail can be found. And then moving on to birding in Lima Bamba and the Marañón Valley. And then the tour wraps up in Celandine area, well, in the Cajamarca area in the Otusco Reserve. So he'll cover all of those 6 sites. As he completes a geographic area, we will stop for questions. And again, when we take those natural breaks, all mics can be open. In the meantime, feel free to text your questions in, and I'll send you all a text about that in just a second. So that's the quick agenda today. There's that. Now I'm just going to give you a quick introduction of Jose Antonio before he starts. So Jose Antonio grew up in Lima, Peru, and he has been a professional bird guide in Peru for nearly 20 years. He started to guide in the Amazon Basin, expanded his birding to include the Mananeo Road and then northern Peru. In recent years, he has led trips in other parts of South America, including Bolivia, Brazil, and Colombia. Clients truly love his friendly and casual manner, and he's always willing to help out on a tour. I won't even tell that tale. Jose Antonio's expertise in birding and tour logistics and his warm personality make him a great choice as a birding tour leader in Peru. With no further ado, my friend, let's learn about northern Peru together. Let us know. Let's learn. Go, my friend.
Okay, Charles. Thank you very much, Leo. Thank you very much, Charles. And thank you very much, everybody that has joined me today for going virtually through northern Peru and this fantastic route of birds. So I'm going to be following a little bit the itinerary of what Partnership for International Birding does as well in northern Peru, and me being the leader. So for all these tours, I'm going to be stopping virtually in some of the places and trying to show you the main and key species of each area. No, so well, with no further information, we start with the slideshow presentation. Well, here's my name and the name of the webinar. So let's do a little bit of geographic information where we're going in these tours. As you probably know, most of the international flights come into Lima, Peru, which is the capital of the country. And after one night in there, we fly up to northern Peru to a city called Chiclayo, no, that you can see here on your left side. No, Chiclayo is a city located on northern Peru, but also right by the ocean, right? And from Chiclayo, we actually start our way up, not to the mountains, over the mountains, and back up again to Cajamarca. So if we come to the right side, we can actually see a little bit the bigger and closer area where we're gonna do the birding, on this tour. So again, we start in Chiclayo, which is on the coast of Peru, and then we go to Chaparri Reserve, spend a couple of nights in there, and we go up to more or less number 9, which is Jaén City, as you can see there. And from number 9, we go a little bit down into cloud forest habitat, into all these bunch of numbers, until 21 or so. All right. And after being a little bit on the eastern slope of the Andes, we come back a little bit into the Cubamba River Basin, which is number 35, 36, and 37, and spending a night in a place called Leimebamba. And from Leimebamba, we go across the Mananeo River, which is an amazing river, one of the tributaries of the big famous Amazon River later on. From there, and we get all the Marañón specialities. We go back a little bit, into the western side of the Andes, into the city of Selendín, which is a mining town, but good, very strategically located. And finally, we finish in Cajamarca, Peru. So we basically do like a little loop, in northern Peru, and that's what we do in this tour. So we start our tour in Chaparri Lodge and Bosque Pomac, like Charles said. And here is a very interesting habitat. Is a habitat that we call dry forest, and also the end of a region called the Tunde Swallow region. We comes down from Ecuador, actually a little bit of Colombia, and then we finish up in northern Peru, this region of Tumbes. And here we get to see some Tumbesian specialities, and like for example, Tumbes Tyrant, Tunde Swallow, and also the Piura Chat Tyrant. And as you can see, this is also a route, a tour where we get to see a lot of Peruvian endemics, right? A little bit of the habitat we be on when we start the trip in Peru, here in northern Peru, is what we call the dry forest. This is the biggest dry forest we have in the country, in northern Peru, where, with the small stunted trees, like mesquite forest, really, what we have around. And it's really, really hot, extremely hot up there, but it's good for birding. As I said, a lot of these Tumbesina region birds we can actually get to see here, and we get to spend few days in this sort of habitat. No, we're gonna get also some species of water, marine species, as we're gonna get close to the ocean. And some of the species of birds we get to see, and the key species for this part of the country are obviously the Peruvian plant cutter, that we go up there, the Tunde Swallow, which is again endemic to just the country, and easily to recognize because it has a very big white rump, and when it's flying, you can actually see that. It's very, very easy to tell. Then we have this little Chat Tyrant, it's a flycatcher, as you all know, Piura Chat Tyrant, which is also endemic from the country. And another nice bird, which is not endemic, but is actually very easy to find in this first part of the tour, is the Peruvian Screech Owl. That has the name Peruvian, but it's also found in a little bit of Ecuador as well, up in the north. And Tumbes Tyrant is a small flycatcher that you see down here in the bottom right, that can also be easily found, especially in Chaparri Lodge. So some of the birds we have around that are also very easy to find, are the elegant crescent shed, for example, again Chaparri Lodge, Peruvian thickney that is not endemic, but it's also found in Ecuador and Chile. But most of the range is in Peru, Peruvian thickney, beautiful and fantastic bird, and nocturnal bird that can be seen during the daytime as well, no problem. The Peruvian pygmy owl down, here on the left, it is a bird that is extremely easy to find and hear, and sometimes you see it like in this picture, just standing on a wire or a cable, electric cable. So it's just fantastic. And the very well famous white-winged one, which is like a wild turkey, thought to be extincted for more than 30 years, and it was rediscovered back in the 80s. And then some people here in Peru started like reintroduction of a species in the wild, and especially in Chaparri Lodge can be seen up in the trees, coming down to the feeder, the white-winged one, that we have here. And the only members of the Majorcus, Majorcus genus, this big family of flycatcher, there is no, yellow and brown head, which is a rufous flycatcher that can be also seen in Bosque Pomac, which is this nice natural reserve, which is nearby Chiclayo City. So after spending some time there, it's actually 2 days, 3 days really, 2 nights. We're going more. We start going more east. We go eastward.
Hey, Jose Antonio, can we take a brief break for any questions?
Okay.
Anybody got any questions out there at all?
No, I don't see any.
Anybody want to ask a question? Feel free to unmute before we move on to high end. And okay, none. Great. Will
Excellent.
Cruz, thanks, my
Excellent.
friend.
No problem. So as I said, after we leave this nice part in this nice dry forest, we start heading eastward, and after going over the first little pass in the Andes, we get down to this nice Andean city called Jaén, as you can see there. And it's a very dry interandean valley, that we are in front of us. So it's really hot again. Jaén is just 700 meters in elevation, which is about 2,000 feet. It's not very high. And to get to Jaén, we need to go over a little pass, because we're already heading up into the Andes, which is called Porcuya Pass, And here, Porcuya Pass is the, I would say, lowest Andean pass that we have in Peru, which is only 2,000 meters in elevation, where we make some burning stop as well. But we get to finally to this city of Jaén. And in Jaén, we spend a couple nights, and we get to some nice sort of areas like Gotas de Agua Reserve, which is not far from the actual city where we stay. It's only 20 minutes by car, so then we get there. And here we start again a new bunch of birds, which is all new for the trip. Like the little Inca finch, which is endemic to Peru. Here, I would like to say that there are 5 species of Inca finches in the world, and we all are endemic to Peru. All right, and on this trip, we have the chance to see 3 out of the 5 species of Inca finches that we have here in the country. So the first one we aim to, and we actually get it nearby the city of Jaén, is this little Inca finch. All right, especially in this reserve, which is called Gotas de Agua. Then we have a Mananeo crescent chest that has been recently discovered in Ecuador, so it's no longer endemic. But hold on, something happened here. Yeah. Like you can see here, in little Inca finch on the left, this beautiful bird with a yellow beak, and Marañón crescent chest, which is very similar to the elegant crescent chest that we got to see over in the other side in Chaparri Lodge. But this one, as you can see, has more white on the wing, which make it different to the other one, which is, remember, the elegant crescent chest that has no white on the wing at all. So this is all more orange and brown on the wing. So this is the one, this crescent chest species, the one we see in Chaparri Lodge. And then on the other side of the mountain, in this dry interandean valley, we get the Marañón crescent chest. Marañón, so you know, is the name of this big, nice river, which eventually we're gonna get to see on the trip, and we'll join to the Amazon River, and together with the Ucayali River, the both rivers are gonna be forming the Amazon River. And so we have the necklet spine-tail as well, which is going to be split in Peru, and the one here in this valley of Jaén is going to be called Chinchipe spine-tail, and hence will be endemic, but it hasn't happened that yet. And again, another possible split that we have around this area is the northern slaty anstrike. That if that is split, it will be Mananeo slaty anstrike. It will become endemic as well. Now that you can see in the picture. So, well, that's basically what we have. We also have a couple of other birds like Marañón spinetail. I don't have a picture of it, so that's why I didn't put a picture. Just put the drawing on the Birds of Peru book, which is very hard to actually see. You hear it more than you actually see it. This Marañón spinetail. Again, no Marañón. When we talk about Marañón, that means it's near endemic or endemic, to that particular part of the country. And we also get this fantastic color anstrike, and another possible split for Peru, which will be also endemic, if that gets to happen. Well, colored anstrike is also in Chaparrí and in Bosque Comac, but this is very much the last part of the tour of the area where we actually get to see it, the colored anstrike. So let me just go back a little bit fast to the first map, so I forgot to tell you something. And here, so as you can see on the left map of Peru, we have, this is a very classic tour, that we do starting from the coast, in the country. We go over the Andes, which is this brown part. We get to see a little bit of the cloud forest, in northern Peru, and then we are back in the Andes, in the Andes area. All right, so this is typically what we always do when people come to a place like Peru, for example, and we get to see all these bunch of birds because we go from habitat to habitat in such a short distance. Especially in this area, as you can see, the Andes are very narrow. So going from the coast to Peru to the jungle or to the cloud forest or to the eastern slopes is very fast. All right. So saying that, I'm going back to what I left. And
Okay.
excellent. So we, after spending 2 nights in Jaén, we moved to this other place.
All right. Hey, before we move to the other place, let's see if we have any questions so far. I actually have one myself. So
Okay.
I know a lot of tours start sort of in a different sort of area, but I know we are really keen on Chapari Lodge and the high-end area. Those first 4 days, we must add 40, I'm asking the question, 40, 50 species we don't get on the rest of the tour, or more like 30, 40. I saw that the targets was about 20, 30, but we get some other stuff as well, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I didn't put on the presentation the ocean birds, for example. So we get another 10 or 15 species of bird found in the ocean. And yes, I think we can get about 40 species that we never see again on the trip. About that.
So it's a nice thing. And Chapari Reserve is really remote and nice, so it's a good place to start the tour. Good. Any other questions out there, folks?
Chapari Lodge is like 4 hours away from Chiclayo City, going into the Andes. So as you say, it's all isolated. It's on a private conservation reserve and owned by basically the local community there. And so it's nice, it's very quiet, and it's fantastic, for birding, because it's all dry forest and it's very open, open views, and you can get to see all that. So anyway, so back on the presentation.
Let's just see if we got any other questions out there. I did get a question about the COVID situation in. Well, I mean, we'll take that at the end, actually.
Okay.
Sorry, the good doctor asked that question, but I will save any COVID related matters for the end of the tour because I'm going to do a little data grab before I do that. Any other questions? Yeah, shoot.
Regarding the ocean bird, is it different up there north from different birds you see around the Lima? They're all in the same ocean birds or different?
Okay. Well, that's a good question. We get to see some different species, like for example, brown pelican, that you never get in Lima, for instance, because it's way too south. And we get species of frigate birds, you know, that are always in the north of the country, never down south, like in Lima, for example. So yeah, I can think of those two species at least that are different, and you will only get to see in northern Peru, you know, when we get there. Mhm. The rest will be probably the same.
Any other questions out there, folks? All right, now we're going to move to the more world famousy parts of the tour. That's a fair description, around the world famous Owlet Lodge or Owlet Lodge Reserve. I'll let you name it, my friend, and I'll hop off for a while. But thanks for those questions, and more are welcome. Thanks very much.
Excellent. So we keep our way east of the Andes, and as you all know, probably is in the eastern slope of the Andes, where we do have in Peru the most amazing and pristine cloud forests, and that's what we're heading to. So in that way, we will make a stop after leaving Jaén in this fantastic area where there is a lodge called Rainbow Lodge, and it's also the Aberration Reserve. This is owned by Peruvian NGO that is called ECOAN, and they have built a lodge in the middle of the nowhere, as you can see here in the picture. And the reason why they are protecting that area, why they have a lodge there, is because this is the main habitat of probably the most fantastic and most beautiful hummingbird in the world. That is the marvelous spatule tail. This hummingbird is also endemic to Peru and is found in just a tiny little spot, you know, tiny little area in northern Peru, which is here in this place. All right, so as you all probably know as well, I mean, the hummingbirds are a lot attracted to feeders. So since this lodge was built, you know, they started putting up and setting up some nice feeders so they can attract the hummingbird. And nowadays, the hummingbirds are coming to the feeders, you know, especially this fantastic hummingbird. And it's not obviously the habitat for this one species, home to many other species of hummingbird as well as other species of birds. So here is a list of the key species that we can see there, like the marvelous spatule tail, of course, and here is a picture of it. Hold on. And here is some guys. It looks like local Peruvian birders watching at the feeders. No, it's actually very close. And here is what most people would like to see on this trip. You know, it's one of the most wanted birds to see in this northern Peru tour. The marvelous spatule tail, photographed in the gardens of Rainbow Lodge. And yes, so this is how it shows. You see, we get females and that are lack of the tail, but we also get things like, I mean, we get the male that comes to the feeders. In these days, they actually come to the feeder, but maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wasn't the case. So now we are very happy, and of course, we feel very blessed to have a place like that in the middle of the forest there in the mountains, where we can get to see this bird coming to the feeder. No? So fantastic tail that is only had by the male. And other interesting species that we get to see in the gardens of Rainbow Hotel, Rainbow Lodge, will be like emerald belly puffleck, you know, long-tailed sylph are all coming to the feeder. So is the purple-throated sand angel, the little wood star, which is the second smallest bird in the world after the big hummingbird that is found in Cuba, right? And another interesting species bird that we have around this area is the rufous cap antshrike, not the bird that you can see there on the right. There is a very small isolated population of this bird in Peru, which is up in northern area, close to the Rainbow Hotel, Rainbow Lodge. So, and you can hear it and it's easy to see. And but because most of the range of this bird in South America will be more east, like in Bolivia and Brazil. Here in Peru, it's just a tiny little area where you live, and it's actually easy there, this rufous cap antshrike. Now, when we go to Bolivia, it's easier, of course, than here, because in Bolivia, it's almost everywhere where we go. and so it's nice to see it as well. So after spending just few hours at Wembo Lodge, remember we don't get to stay there. We just go in and we stop on the way to Outlet Lodge. Um, this is again in this area of the Patricia Pass, no, where the lodge, as you can see there, again is in the middle of the forest, also owned by this non-profit organization called EcoAng. And here's more of cloud forest, as you can see, because we're already facing the eastern slope of the Andes, no? Before that, we were like in interandean valleys, no, a little bit more west of the Andes, but here we are already facing the eastern slopes. And as you can see, it's more cloud forest, more of mountain forests, no? And we go down a little bit into this nice sort of highway or road to the Foothill Habitat, no? So this is an area that is full of birds, folks. I mean, it's amazing the amount of birds, almost as many as we have in Manu, for example, Manu Road, because of cloud forest habitat. You know, that is the kind of habitat that delivers most of species of birds, tanagers, fruit eaters, also hummingbirds in South America. But again, it was hard for me to choose, the key species. But anyway, so you have it. And most of them are endemics, by the way. Remember that this is the endemic route for birds in Peru too. And for example, here, another super mega bird for the country that we get to see here, not as easy as the spatule tail, will be obviously the long whisker owlet. No, this guy is very small. It's only 14 centimeters, long, which will be what, like 6 feet, maybe? No, 6 inches. Sorry, 6 inches long, and it lives on the grounds of the Owlet Lodge. And obviously, being an owlet, it comes out mainly at night, but it's very hard to get. So we usually hire a local person who is always in charge of taking people down to see it. And with him, we get, or we try at least this bird, the long whisker owlet. I mean, I will say we have a very good chance to see it, no more than 50% to see, because actually live there. Unlike the marvelous spatule tail, this owlet also live in a small, tiny little place in northern Peru. It's endemic to that area, and it's highly localized, and it was again rediscovered for science about 25 years ago, just by mistake, or they didn't know it was still out there, and they were doing some bird netting and collecting some bird species in the area, and this bird got caught in the net, and they thought it was the juvenile of the baby of another species of owl. And during the night, and the bird was already kept on a tent, it started calling, and when the people heard it calling, they realized it wasn't any of the species of owls we already have in Peru, and they started to look at this bird more carefully, and finally they realized that it was the owlet, that was rediscovered in Peru about 25 years ago. So it's extremely endangered bird, but we have a very, very good chance to see it, in this trip. Another spectacular and mega species of birds we get to see on these 3 nights. We spent 3 or 4 nights, I don't remember. We spent in this sort of habitat. Is the ochre-fronted Ampita, which is endemic to Peru. And this bird, it comes out from the forest, although people have been trying to feed the Ampita also in northern Peru, like they do in Ecuador and Colombia, for example. This species of Ampita is very shy, and we don't guarantee to see it on a feeder, for instance. No, we wait, and we have a lot of waiting there, but the bird responds very good to the cold, so we do have a great chance for it to come out and actually see it, which is this ochre-fronted Ampita, which is this bird here in top. Then we have the Johnson's toddy flycatcher, also known as Lulu's toddy flycatcher, which is endemic to Peru as well. And we have two isolated populations of this bird, this little flycatcher one in northern Peru, and the other isolated population is in southern eastern Peru, where it's harder to find. So the best place to actually see this little flycatcher is northern Peru with a fantastic orange head. And then we have this fantastic hummingbird, Royal St. Angel, that it lives in a private reserve next to Outlet Lodge. Because if you remember, we go to this Alto Mayo protected forest as well, which is right next to the Outlet Lodge. And it's in there, that means a little bit lower in elevation, where we get to see things like Royal St. Angel. It comes to the flowers, it's easy to spot and see in there. So it's just a matter of know where the spot is. We get there, we wait a few minutes, and then the bird comes. So it's the Chestnut Ampita that is also trying to be fed in the lodge. So we have a good chance to see it, another endemic from Peru. And the gray-breasted mountain toucan that is always around. Mountain toucans are a cloud forest species, and when it start calling, it's actually easy to tell what it is, and we can find it. All these pictures, most of the pictures here are mine from northern Peru, from my northern Peru tours, but like the gray-breasted mountain toucan is my picture, but some of them are not. And this is how you get to see these birds, over there. So a few more species of birds. Again, key species that we get to see here, more endemics, like the yellow scarf tanager, that usually flies in flocks and, close to the lodge sometimes, just going through the lodge, by the dining room. Sometimes you don't have to do anything, it's just there. And the pale bill Ampita, which is another endemic to Peru. And for that bird, you need to walk a little and get to the spot where you can try just by calling the bird, of course, the bird will come out if you are lucky. Ampitas are always unpredictable, are always elusive, but we're working already in some lodges in Peru in order to feed the ampitas, so we can guarantee at least some species, So, but here is another one, and the two species down below, like the Stormwind Hummingbird, comes to this fantastic hummingbird with the longest bill in any other bird in the world, and in terms of hummingbird for sure. It comes to the feeder. Our lodge also have a lot of feeders just outside the dining room, and the bird comes. Not only just the Stormwind Hummingbird, another bunch of other species of hummers also come, but this is for me the most spectacular one. So it's a red-crested cotinga that you get to see sometimes perched up in the trees. It's a typical cloud forest species, and a bird that it likes more humid areas, and then you get to see them too, when you are walking. But as I said, this is the country of birds, especially up that area, and this is for me the best and the most spectacular birds that we get to see, and we always aim to see, when we go up there in that particular location. All right, so we're going to move to another location now. I don't know if there are some questions, Charles.
Okay, let's take a little note for some questions here, and and first of all, my friend, you could slow down a little bit. You're doing fine, and if we only get to the Mananeo Valley, we'll be doing great. So you're doing wonderful. Thank you for the presentation so far. A couple things about the owlet, because I always get a lot of questions about that when I'm making a sale on the tour. The reality is sometimes we get it pretty easily, 2 or 3 hours at night. I assume you've missed it at some point in time, but you missed it on what, 1 in 20 tours or something?
No, a little bit more than that.
Okay, maybe 1 in 10?
Yeah.
Oh, lay it out there, my friend.
Sorry?
It's a tough bird.
It is. I mean,
there's times it just disappears, right?
Yeah. I can explain you a little bit of the excursion we do to see it.
Well, yeah. Before we get into that, let's talk about there's several guides. What, 3 or 4 at the Whiskered Owlet Lodge, and those gentlemen, I think they're all dudes. those gentlemen, like their job is to keep track of the owlet, right?
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
And
I
so,
mean,
so typically, whether it's at the Owlet Lodge or the nearby reserve, sometimes we get lucky and we find it in 2 or 3 hours. Is that right?
yes, yes, yes. I mean, we
Right. And
don't
that
go.
happens what, 30, 40% of the time or less? I know the
I was,
last couple of years it's been pretty good before the pandemic.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the last 4 tours that I've been in northern Peru, I have seen the outlet 3 times out of 4. So very good, no?
Right. So
It's
maybe
because
70% of the time you get the bird. And then sometimes, I mean, I've heard horror stories of people, not one of our tours, but like walking literally all night long to find that bird and finding it like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, obviously for some birders, like an all night long trek is a little bit more than they're physically capable of. But that's actually rare that you have to work that hard, right?
yeah, I mean, it's a walk that you go down, you know. It's about 1,000 meters, which is like half a mile, a little bit, 3/4 of a mile, right?
Okay.
And to get out to a swampy area, no? And that's what sometimes is difficult because you go down and it's quite steep the way down to get to a swampy area, and obviously you have to wear boots, rubber boots, and then you wait for the bird to start calling, you know. If we're lucky, I mean, we go there before it gets dark, you know. So if we're lucky, we get to see the bird right away because once the night falls, you know, the owlets start calling. So the same with the owlet. No, usually I've been in trips where I just get to the spot and the bird has been calling there already. And then we try to do the playback thing, and then the bird comes and we sit in 20 minutes, you know, half an hour, no more than that, and then we go back up. And that's the thing. And but sometimes the bird is actually really quiet and elusive, so we need to keep walking a little bit farther and farther until we actually hear it. And that is what, like you're saying, no, the Roberto especially, which is one of the local guides in there, is the person that I always like to go there with. He knows where the bird is, and so he will take us. No, we I do have a little bit of help in that location for the outlet, and we get there, and this will be Roberto who will say, "Oh, Jose, let's move a little bit further, or let's stay here and wait." And he has this amazing hearing sense because the outlet again is 6 inches long, and it makes a really low noise, no call. So you really need to know the bird very well in order to actually hear it and then try to find it. No, and that's why we have this help of the local guides there. As I said, I like working with Roberto. So that's why we stay 3 nights in there, because if we don't see it in one night, we only have two or a second night to go down there, a third night to go down there. No, so
Gotcha.
but it's all up to the tourists as well. No, now remember, Charles, we've been also using another location a little bit
I do know.
farther down, about yes, 15 minutes down this outlet lodge. There is another place called Fundo Alto Nieva, right, which is inside this Alto Mayo protected forest. And
Right.
and then there's also another location for the outlet. So everybody knows now there is a second chance, I mean second place to get to see this outlet if we don't get it in outlet lodge. So what we're doing now with charge, so we're taking people to this other location, which is Fundo Alto Nieva, and then the previously organized, of course, the guys will take us also to a spot, and the walking there is easier. Remember, I told you it's flatter and it doesn't go up or down the mountain; it just goes straight, no. And then it's only 15, 20 minutes, not very far, and you get to the spot for the outlet. So we are using also this other location, right? When we do this tour, Charles. And again, no, the guides there don't let you go on your own. They actually take you to see the outlet there, no. So we always have company.
And so the bottom line is you really don't know the owlet's situation far in advance. You know it like a few weeks in advance, a couple days in advance, the day of, and then we just have to deal with what we have to deal with. And so it's just a very tough bird to get. And I have to say, I was there one time. It was 4.5 hours walk from the lodge. I was with a group of other bird guides. I was the only one who wanted to go for it.
No surprise.
I will never understand that the rest of my life. To me, it's like if you got a one-time shot, you ought to take it. But it is what it is. It can prove really tough. Oh, and then let's just talk about hummingbirds on the trip. You talked about some of the superstars. You've got, typically on this tour, you get 50 plus hummingbird species, or more than that, or less.
Oh yes. We have about, I think the last trip I had about 56 species of hummingbirds.
Yeah, so we could say 55 to 65 on the high of hummingbird species. Yeah, and as you know, I took a short version of the tour, not with you, but again with the other group of guides. And we got like 45 species in 10 days. So a full trip, 55 to 65 hummingbird species. So that's pretty sweet as well. Any other questions from our crowd out? Oh, here's a great one. Do we have to bring our own boots? So does the Owlet Lodge have boots that people can borrow, or do they got to bring them in?
They do have, but not many. So the recommendation is to bring their own boots. Yeah.
Gotcha. And boots usually over your ankle or up to your mid calf?
Up to the mid calf.
Oh. So
Yeah,
we do got to. So you do got to bring your boots on that sucker.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a great question.
I can always take people in a little break we have in Jaén, for example, to a little shop where we can buy the boots, before we get to Owlet Lodge. If people don't want to bring the boots from the States or from wherever they come from, there's places in Peru where we go and they sell rubber boots. The problem is sometimes Peruvians don't have a very big size of shoes. So sometimes people, sometimes Americans especially, or Europeans have very big feet, and we don't have the size. So
yeah, we should actually add that to the packing list. If you've got big feet, you should bring your own rubber boots.
Exactly.
And there you go. Good answer, good question. Ironically, the two people asking me these questions, I'm trying to get on the same Southern Ecuador trip. Just saying, people asking those questions. Anyway, one of the questioners is asking about Ampita feeding at the Owlet Lodge. When I was there, they were trying it and they weren't very effective. Has that improved, say, since your last tour there? I know they were trying to develop one. I didn't think it looked very effective when I was there.
No, you're right. I mean, I wasn't very. I didn't actually see the Ampitas because they don't do it constantly, I think.
Right. No. Right. Exactly. There was much discussion amongst this group of guides about how they could improve their Ampita feeding program, but yeah. So sadly, there's not really an effective Ampita feeding program there. Another question was, how often do you find the chestnut Ampita on the tour?
I mean, if we don't get it in Owlet Lodge, we get it in Fundo Alto Nieva, which is the other place where we go for the Owlet, because they are feeding the chestnut Ampita there too.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, right.
Remember. So if we have again, and the guys on this other place. By the way, this other place is not a lodge; it's just a private reserve. By the way,
like a reserve, right?
Yes, exactly. So we get there, and the guys feeding the Ampita, and they are more efficient in this particular process of feeding the Ampita. So the chestnut Ampita, I always seen it in this other place, which is Fundo Alto Nieva, that we always go. So yes.
Yeah, we had a pretty big discussion on one of the calls about blinds and how we ought to have a video conference on how to do a blind properly, because we really struggle with blinds in the United States. And could have a whole conference on on antpit Itafit eating as well. Okay, so those were good questions. I think we covered them all. We can jump onto the Marignan Alley and Lima Bamba, and don't feel rushed. We can wrap up there. I think you've done a great job with the presentation today. Thank you so much, sir.
No worries. Before we go to the next spot, as also I would like to say that if we, for example, from Aule Lodge and the area around, we keep going downhill and we reach the Foothill Habitat, which we'll do actually in one of the days. Once we get to the Foothill Habitats, we'll be closer to the Amazon rainforest, and we visit a couple of places there as well that I haven't really put on the list because it would be too long, where there is also hummingbird feeders, no? Right at the bottom of the mountain here, right? One is called Arena Blanca or White Sand, which is a little private reserve that is full of hummingbirds too, like Rufous Crested Coquette, Brown Balladeer, and what else? Blue-fronted Landsbill, green-fronted Landsbill, and a whole bunch of new species of hummingbirds also come to those feeders in this other reserve. So we do go there in one of the days or in one of the mornings, now when we stay around here, okay? So this is the place during the whole trip where we get most of the species of birds, really, all right? During these 3 or 4 days we spend around Aule Lodge and the surrounding area. So after spending 3 nights in here, we go, down south. We don't go eastward anymore. We go south of Abra Patricia or Aule Lodge into a nice valley of a nice river called Utcubamba River. You can see the river here in the picture, and there is this nice road that goes near to the river and follows the Utcubamba River down south to get to Leime Bamba, which is the next place where we're going to be, and we stay there only for 1 night. Leime Bamba town and the Utcubamba River Basin is basically the remnant temperate forest that we are going to get to see there. And as you can see, as we go there, we actually get past a few archaeological sites, Charles. Remember, like Cuela, for example, which I have a picture down here. This is a pre-Inca, a site that is quite big, and sometimes we add it on the trip, as you know, and it's open as well for everybody who would like to visit this place. But in terms of birds, of course, here is the main key species that we get to see. There is amazing the amount of Andean condors, that we get to see in this particular valley and around Leime Bamba. All right, so Andean condor is guaranteed in there. So is some species of fruit eaters, and this fantastic hummingbird that we get right in the Leime Bamba city, actually there in the flowers, which is the rainbow starfrontlet. It comes easy to see. And so is this black-necked woodpecker, which is a Peruvian endemic that can be seen mainly along the coast of Peru, but also a little bit into the interandean dry valleys of northern Peru. And so is the Mananeo thrush, which is another Peruvian endemic that we see quite often on the way to Leime Bamba. So, yeah, this is here. So, folks, we start more of the quality species of bird as opposed to quantity, right? Because we're going back into the dry valleys of the Andes. But the Marañón River Basin, of course, is just a fantastic an area where it's a very small, kind of like V-shaped valley. The valley is really close, and there's the Marañón River down there, as you can see here up in the top. Of this guy's birding, and there is a very small road that goes from Leime Bamba all the way down into the river, and the river is located about 400 meters in elevation. We get past the river, and then we go back up to a city called Serendín. So in this particular valley, which is actually absolutely amazing, all isolated, from the rest of the world, really, and it's really deep, and we get a lot of and a bunch of new species of endemics for Peru, and an amazing, birding also here. Most of the species we actually get to see on this particular day that we go from Leimebamba all the way to Selendin is all endemics, and it's just fantastic way of birding there. I mean, and as you can see, it's nice and very open. There's not a big, bunch of bushy trees, so it's very good and easy birding. So at this point, we already left Leimebamba, with a big number of condors, I guess, and a lot of rainbow star frontlets, hummingbirds. And at this point, we go into the Mananeo River Valley, and we start all these nice species of birds, as I said. And after spending a day in Selendin, we finally finish in Cajamarca City. I have put these two locations together because the habitat is very much the same. Now, as I said, it's the dry Marañón Valley, the dry Interandean Valley in Cajamarca City, which you can see the picture of the main plaza here. And these nice sort of like holes in the middle of a little of a hill, which we call it Ventanillas de Otusco, or Otusco's windows. All right, this is an archaeological site that we actually go one morning in Cajamarca, and there's a bunch of birds around there. That's why we go. And here we combine a little bit of culture with birding, which is actually excellent here, because Cajamarca City is an old ancient city as well that is full of nice sites as well, not only for birds but also for culture. So we get to see both in here at the end, of our trip. And basically, as we're going, here is, for example, one of the amazing hummingbird species that we get to see, which is again endemic to Peru, which is the Coopery metaltail. And here is not far from Leimebamba. We're leaving Leimebamba, going into Selendin. This bird is just there. This is a location where it's always there. It's just fantastic, and it perch up in the trees like that, right? And another look in the list of birds that I put in here. I mean, 2, 4, 6, 9 species of birds. 8 are endemics, and 1 is near endemic. But the rest of them are all endemics to this Marañón River Basin, and valley, and of course endemics to Peru. So here's more of species of birds around, and here we have the buff-bridled Inca finch. Remember, I was talking about the Inca finches, that there are 5 species of Inca finches in the world, and we have in this trip we get to see 3 of the 5 species, and then we have also the great winged Inca finch that we can see. I mean, these 2 species is amazing because they don't actually share the habitat. I mean, they do share the habitat, but they don't overlap in terms of territory. So like the buff-bridled Inca finch, you can actually see it on the western side of the Marañón River, and the great winged Inca finch, you see it in the eastern side of the river. So, and they never overlap. One is in one spot, the other one is in this spot. So in one, when you're going downhill, you get this buff-bridled Inca finch, and when you go back up to get Selendin, you get this other species, great winged Inca finch. As you know, these Inca finches are highly localized, and they're always in this sort of very small habitat, and range. The Peruvian pigeon is being recently found also in Ecuador, so it's no longer endemic. For many years it was endemic to Peru, but it's also in Ecuador, in just a small part of Ecuador, in southern Ecuador, and it's there. And it's another bird that is very highly localized, like inside the valley of the Marañón River, and it's easily recognized because of the red eye. You can see a big pigeon usually, because they fly together with the feral pigeons of what's the name? The other pigeons that are all over the world. I forgot the name. Anyways, and they fly together. So Peruvian pigeons, you just see the eye. And another super mega bird for Peru, and it lives just on this Marañón River Valley. and likes to be on this cacti and this nice sort of shrubby area. You know, is the yellow-faced parrotlet. Is extremely endangered, and not many of these little birds left. But in this valley, if you know where to look for them, you can actually see them. And like this, actually, quite nice. They show very well. So I've been very lucky. I've seen these birds all the time. You know, yellow-faced parrotlets live in there. So it's another bird, another endemic bird that we actually see in this long day of traveling, and it's the chestnut-backed thornbird. It's endemic, and again, no, it's highly localized in a sort of like shrubby, not dry, shrubby habitat that we have very close to 17. No, all these birds are easily to see as long as you know the spot, as long as you know where to stop, and then you can actually be there, stop there, play the call, and they usually respond very quickly, and they come out and see easily. No, and more species, but these are species basically more in Cajamarca, which is our final destination before we fly back to Lima. More endemic species, and during one of the days in Cajamarca, as I said, we go into these ventanillas, these windows I showed you earlier, but then we go into like a canyon that is called Chonta Canyon, where is the main habitat for another super mega bird for Peru, which is this gray belly comet, right? And that you can see here on the left, up left, and it's just the only one spot we know that you can actually see this well, no? Gray belly comet, Peruvian endemic. So is a black metal tail. Black metal tail, however, is Peruvian endemic, but it's found all the way down to the southern part of the country, you know, in the Andes of Peru. But it's also nice, of course, easy to find the black metal tail. And so is this rusty crown tick spine tail, no? It's a very small spine tail. As you know, South America is full of this family of Fornidarides, no? Which includes all the spine tail, canastero, tick spine tail, cinclodes, and things like that. And this is a small species with a very long tail, and this nice sort of rusty crown that are always moving, you know, in these shrubs and small bushes in this area, no? Cajamarca. And this great spine tail that we get to see a little bit far from the city of Cajamarca. And we can always have a time, one of the mornings, to get to see this bird, which is about, I would say, an hour and a half driving from Cajamarca to get to the spot of this great spine tail, and then be back in the city in time for dinner and all that, no? Because of a bunch of nice birding stops on the way, and to get to see the great spine tail. So this is very much, you know, most of the species and endemics of birds we get to see, and as I say, all of them are easy to get. But of course, you know that coming to a place or a country like Peru, well, the amount of birds is amazing, but we have just selected, you know, the target species, net charts. So for these trips and the location, so, you know. And just to finish with the presentation.
Yeah, let me take
yes.
a little bit of time before we go to the end.
Okay.
We covered quite a bit of stuff there. I've got a really good question from one of the audience members, which is also a nice wrap-up question. So we'll take a couple minutes of questions here, and then I'll do a couple administrative things, and then you can do your fond farewell, my friend. Okay. Anybody have any other questions out there? And if not, I'm going to jump to the first one I got from the crowd. Yeah, shoot.
So the scarlet-banded barbet, is that, you know, I see a lot of places offer as extension to the northern Peru. Is it you still come back to Lima, fly to the site, or from the trip you can have access to the site through the, you know, the vehicle? Like how many days extension for the barbet?
You want to answer that, Charles, or you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I mean, let's see if I can do it from memory. I mean, if you go to our website, I think we have that extension on there. But basically, we have to fly to another city. So you could do it before or after logistically, it probably makes sense that we would end the tour and fly there. And then it's a couple nights because it's actually it's not far from the city we drive into, but you've got to spend the night up close to where it is. So it's at least a 2-night extension. Do I have that right, sir?
Yes, yes. I mean, it's 3 days, 2 nights at least. And the thing is, I don't know if I can jump quickly to the map of Peru, so we can be more specific. And you can see here, for example, and I have circle, no, where we're doing
It's a
the
little
tour,
hard
no?
to see the map, but okay.
Okay,
But it's
but
Tarapoto that we fly to, right?
that's right, that's right. And then you fly to Tarapoto, which is here in the very right hand side of, I don't know if you can see the
Huh?
mouse. There you go, maybe here.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Nice technology.
I mean, we cover on this tour with Partnership International Birding, we cover all this area that I have circled, right? And we go close to Moyobamba, which is already the foothills of the eastern slope of the Andes. And then we go back into Selendín, that you can see here, Chachapoya, Selendín, and we finish in Cajamarca, right? So for the lady who asked to get the scarlet-banded barbet, we need to go to Tarapoto. You see Tarapoto here, right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
To get that, you got to fly Lima. You got to fly Cajamarca to Lima to Tarapoto.
Okay, exactly. Then you see, you get Tarapoto here. As you can see, I mean, it's far from where we cover on this trip, right? And
Okay.
from Tarapoto, you need to go east, more or less here. And there is another place that is called Yurimaguas that I don't see it in the map here. And from Yurimaguas is where you start the trip. So we are talking about maybe this area that I'm gonna show you in a minute, where the scarlet-banded, we're talking about this area here, okay? Here, there is more or less the area where the scarlet-banded barbet is.
We spend the night at a lodge. It's what, 2 or 3 hours drive from Tarapoto, but then from there, it's like a 4-wheel drive haul to the scarlet-banded barbet place.
Oh yes. And,
so you really are looking, just in logistical time alone, you're really looking at 2 nights minimum, and getting out on that 3rd day would actually be quite a bit of a challenge, because you need the morning to get the barbet. I mean, it probably makes more sense to spend 2 nights there, just because if you've gone that far, it'd be a shame not to get the bird. It is a really tough to get species. And for the longest time, it just was not findable in Peru at all. So, but yeah, we do offer a scarlet-banded barbet extension.
Oh, sorry, Charles, here is actually Yurimaguas. I think here is not Yurimaguas. Look, here, that's where you have to go first, from Tarapoto to Yurimaguas. Here, and nearby is where scarlet-banded barbet is, no? There.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Gotcha. And then somebody just asked about the overlap between southern Ecuador and northern Peru. There is a pretty significant species overlap. In a funny way, during the presentation, Jose Antonio talked about, 2 or 3 endemics that have now been found in Ecuador. But that being said, besides the classic endemic, both tours, both routes have endemics that you can find on one but not the other. They do have a lot of common species as well. But then beyond the endemics, there's just birds that are easier to get on the northern Peru route than the southern Ecuador route. So I had a world lister tell me about, golly geez, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, gosh, most world listers go to either southern Ecuador or northern Peru. I truly think for the sort of enthusiastic South American birder, I think most end up doing both, to tell the truth. And that's more sort of my experience from a marketing standpoint. So again, I think it depends upon who you are as a bird watcher. I personally would love to see Hoko-Toko Ampita before I die. I have seen Marvelous Spatula-tail. On this last little screen, those three birds, black Edeltail, gray-bellied comet, and rufous crown tit spinetail, all of them were lifers for me exactly in the spot that he spoke of. And to tell the truth is, we got another, I don't know, 3 or 4 trip hummingbirds at that spot. It was just really a nice little spot. So truly, I encourage folks to do both. And great, and I would like to go back to get the whiskered owlet. It sort of broke my heart that nobody else wanted to go. It's like, you got to be kidding me. But they were like, oh, we're going to come back. I'm like, oh, I don't know. So, yeah, and then, so I think I answered that question. We have one more good question here, then I'm going to do the administrative thing, and then we're going to wrap up. It was, do you ever see the black spectacled brush finch? And what about the golden-back mountain tanager?
Yeah, the brush finch is actually on the way from from Chaparrillos to Jaén.
Right.
And there is a little pass. I don't know if you remember. I mentioned the pass, which is called Abra Porcuya or Porcuya Pass. And there is a spot to get a brush finch. Okay, so that is the easy spot for me to actually get it. And I say
right.
almost all the time.
So that's right. And this tour was designed by one of the top South American bird guides, Lelis Navarrete. And truly, that's why he likes to have Chapari at the start of the tour. Besides those Chapari birds and the Jaén birds, there's also a couple nice birds in between, like the black spectacled brush finch. What about golden-back mountain tanager, sir?
Golden-back mountain tanager is southern, it's farther south. It's actually in the central Andes of Peru. So if we go, it's not in the northern Peru. If we go to the map again quickly, so I show you here where is the more or less the area for the golden-back mountain tanager. If it's Lima is here.
Who was there?
Okay, can you see, right? Okay, so if Lima is here, the golden-back mountain tanager is in this area here, central Andes of Peru here. All right.
So not really a northern Peruvian bird, but a Central American. I mean, a Central Peru bird. And
exactly.
What favorite guide do I have in Peru who's been begging me for years to put up a Central Peruvian tour? Me. He smiles because he knows it's him.
Here, it's in this
it's
area.
been on my list for a while. One of these days we'll be offering, I think it's 12 days, 11 nights for Central Peru. And there you go. So and then you can get that golden-back mountain tanager. I think I have just a couple more questions. Maybe not. No, I don't. Okay, cool. So I just want to wrap up. I've been very good about not mentioning anybody's first or last name. There was one name I let leaked out early on, and I've been a well-behaved facilitator since then. But if you feel like your name has been mentioned or you have any other privacy issues on the tour, please email service@pibird.com, and we will address that in our final edit of the video conference. I just want to say thank you very much, Jose Antonio. You deserve a prize for most best improved presenter. Thank you very, very much. We can go to your last slide now, bud.
Yeah, this is, well, it's just me guiding some of the last tours of your company, of Partnership International Birding.
Yep.
Before the pandemic, actually last year in February, 2020, 1 month before the pandemic. And but just just so you know, all the different habitats we go. This is an example of it. We start in the birding on the ocean, in the beach, with nice food, nice Peruvian ceviche, nice Peruvian food here, and then we go up into nice sort of cloud forest habitat. Even the driver, the guy that is down there by the car, is the driver, helping us, to find the birds. Everybody's birding there. And finally, in Cajamarca, in this nice archaeological site, which is also good for birds too, in these little windows, which in fact, so used to be like burial places. People were buried in there, and way before the Inca times, anyways. And it's a very good touristic site, even for local people. They always go there, and we meet with them in this particular site. Anyways, folks, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. You need to come to Peru and do northern Peru. I really like it, and it's a bunch of birds there. We usually finish with a huge list of over 450, 500 species of birds. When we do these trips, and there's a nice food for everybody, and a nice habitat to go, nice scenery there, and people are friendly, as you know. So we are here waiting for everybody to come. Thank you very much.
When do you think you'll be going?
Sorry?
When? When do you think it'll be able to go there?
Well, Peru is open now. It's not closed. It's open for everybody until I think a month ago it was closed for example, English planes, coming. But now it's open. They only asking for people to get the vaccine, and that's it. No period. So I think the next trip we're doing, Charles, in February is a go, right?
Right. It just got scheduled and booked almost immediately. But yeah, I mean, a lot of folks I think will turn to northern Peru later this year, September, October, when cases go down. And Leo, if you want to stop the recording, you can, or you can stay on. I saw somebody did ask the question